What's going on, guys and gals? Bonafide Hustler here.
Raking profit in the house.
The college picker in front of these surfboards.
Dhruv with the V, representing.
All right, so you're in for quite a treat. I said that on all the shows, but this is going to be an exceptionally good show. It's Wednesday night, Green Room Hangout, and today we have a special guest named Dhruv. He's from the Green Room. He's actually one of the members who joined recently, and he's got quite the stories, so I can't wait to tell you guys like all the stuff that he knows. So, yeah, we'll get to the guest in 1 second. I'm the Bonafide Hustler. I reside in Austin, Texas. I flip stuff on a part-time basis that I find from thrift stores and garage sales and swap meets, pawn shops. Put it on places like eBay, Amazon, Craigslist, my antique booth, and consignment stores in town. I am one of the owners of the Green Room University. You can check it out. It's the second link down below. What is going on, Mr. Rakin Profit?
What's up? What's up, everybody? Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. My name's Steve Rakin, 30 years old, from Connecticut. Sell on eBay, Amazon, Craigslist. Have my own website on Shopify, and I do a lot of thrifting, garage sales, stuff like that. And really, really excited for the show because I got to go hustling with Dhruv with a V. And I'll tell you right now, he has got the spirit, he's got the energy, and he's a tough one to keep up with. I tell you right now, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, CP, what's up? CP in front of the surfboards. What you up to, man?
In front of the surfboards. I've been doing daily vlogs. If you haven't already seen them, make sure you check them out. I just recently, earlier this year, rode my bicycle across Japan. Dhruv just got back from Japan, so I'm excited to maybe hear some stories about Japan, either on camera or off camera, whatever. Feel free to check out my vlogs. They are resale oriented, but it's a lot of the daily life behind the scenes of, you know, we're more than just resellers. We do a lot of other things. I am a pharmacist, 29 years old. I sell on eBay, Etsy, Amazon, a little bit of Craigslist, and I'm getting ready for a contract in November, December. I'm going to be going to California. Right now, I'm on a journey to pay off my student loans. I'm at like 52,000. Started at 66 a month and a half ago. And yeah, I'm in the green room. I just finished editing our seminar stuff, and I'm excited to get that up on the website. There's a couple tweaks, and it should be good to go.
Yeah, by the way, good job on that. I saw already what you're doing, and it looks amazing. College.
I told you they were going to come out good, man. I had a.
They came out better than I thought. Our guest of the night, Dhruv. What is going on, Dhruv? Tell the show a little bit about yourself, or tell the feed a little bit about yourself right now.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, my name is Dhruv. I'm really excited to be here with all of you. I'm 22 years old. I reside in Austin, Texas. Currently, I'm broadcasting from New York, spending a few days with the family after I got back from few weeks in Japan, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, I go to graduate school at the University of Texas at Austin, and I study communications. If you don't know, it's one of the top 10 programs in the country consistently for the last decade or so. And I also work as a debate coach at the University of Texas at Austin, which also has one of the most competitive debate programs in the country. And yeah, I'm pretty new to reselling, and primarily I source used books, and that's kind of my passion and what I've really been doing and into for the last few months, and I'm really excited to share my journey and my story with all of you. All
right, and how old were you again, Dhruv?
I'm 22 years old.
All right, so guys, keep that in mind while you're watching the show, okay? 22 years old, because you're about to. There's gonna be some stories. You're gonna be like, oh my god, no way. So, anyway, so that's our guest for tonight. I want you guys to type in one thing in the feed real quick. I want you to type in "Let's go" because we're gonna get the show started right now. I'm gonna type it in, and there it is. I want you to mimic that right there. Put "Let's go," and while I have your attention, first link down below is 100 amazing items to resell. You know, if you're like Dhruv and you love books, that is great. But there are other things to hustle as well that you can check out from yard sales, thrift stores, pawn shops, all that kind of stuff. Find it in this PDF. It's a free download. First link down below. So let's go. All right, we got people saying let's go. Here we go. Here we go. So Dhruv, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, Rakin, we have a professional debate coach here. Like, I don't think we're gonna win anything. Any kind of argument with this guy, right?
Yeah, I have nothing opposing to say, and
that was a dodge.
Yeah, that's a dodge. Okay, so we're getting into his debate stories probably mid-show and stuff like that. So you resell on primarily one avenue, Dhruv, right?
Yeah, Amazon, FBA primarily. I mean, I also, Craigslist, OfferUp, 5 Mile, Facebook Marketplace. I also, resell on those, but primarily Amazon FBA and primarily used books. Yeah.
Okay, so primarily Amazon FBA, primarily used books. Why does FBA seem to work for you more than any other hustling opportunity out there?
Well, one is just the freedom and flexibility that it allows. I mean, I would not be able to handle as much inventory, within my own apartment space as is possible when I send it to Amazon, i.e. fulfilled by Amazon. So it allows me to scale essentially and have a lot more products without having to physically have each of the products and then send them out individually as people order. So it reduces the amount, in my eyes, of work that I have to do, which is especially important because I only do it part-time. So I have all of these other commitments. So because of that, Amazon FBA allows me that type of flexibility to be able also to work when I want to work. So that's huge.
Right. What do you think most 22-year-olds that just got out of college are getting paid these days? What do you think, Dhruv? Like an hour. What do you think?
Well, depends on their degree, dude.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, the average person that gets out of college, what do you think?
The average person that gets out of college.
There's always an average, man. There's a median. There's a mean. What do you think?
What do I think?
15?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so you said, yeah, maybe 15. So we're getting close to that. So for
15 an hour?
No, 15 an hour. Yeah, like I know Costco's 15 an hour, right? I think.
Then that wouldn't be, I think out of college would be closer to 25 to 30 an hour. I don't know.
Well, you are a pharmacy degree, CP, so maybe that's a little bit higher than that.
I don't know about
20 is like a tech, though. 20 is like a lead tech, and that's not even.
I don't know
Entry, so Nike boxes in the feed says entry level makes 15 in today's society. Yeah. Okay, so 15. So you do a part-time. Do you feel as if you get past that $15 mark pretty quickly for your hourly, what you're investing into this FBA project of yours?
Oh, yeah. I mean, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Raken's laughing because he put you on Snapchat back in the Green Room meetup. Remember that, Raken? You put him, not Snapchat, on your Instagram, right? And what was he running back from the garage sales with? He was the last person to enter the van, the Green Room Caravan, twice on that day. He was the last person at the sales, but he was holding a bunch of what? He was holding a bunch of, what was it?
Yeah. He was holding a bunch of books. I remember that.
Yeah. So definitely those books. There must be a method to the madness. Like when you are hustling books, you are a brand new person. Maybe you're 4 months into this game. What's going on through your head while you have the scanner out? Because clearly you wouldn't pull the trigger on every book at a garage sale without a cell phone, without the Amazon seller app. So what's going on through your head when you have the phone out and you're scanning a book at a garage sale?
Yeah, I mean, the two main components that I look for are sales rank. So if it's under 2 million, that's super important to me. And if it's under 2 million, that's how I know that I can kind of move on to the next phase. And then the next phase after that, after the sales rank, is to see how much it's going for and how much it's selling for an FBA, and seeing if there's it has to, for me personally, be above $13. It has to be above that, especially with some of the new Amazon fees. So for me, it has to be above $13 or $14 when I'm looking for how much does it go on FBA. And then also as a metric, I see how much does it go for new, and then if there's any merchant fulfilled offers, I also look at that. But the primary two places that I look are the sales rank and the how much it's going for an FBA. I think those are two really important aspects. And now with FBA Scan App and some of the newer apps, it'll actually tell you percentage-wise how much ROI you get, which has been really helpful as well. So
that's based upon putting an input price of something, though, right?
Yes, yeah. So you always have to kind of, adjust, subtract it based on how much you paid for it, etc. Obviously, yes, you have to do that. But yeah.
Eric, this guy is 4 months into the game, spitting this much knowledge and doing this much analytical stuff.
He's a college smarty, dude. That's why.
That's crazy. Raken, 4 months into the game, to the resale game, what were you doing?
I was flipping bicycles. I didn't know anything about, Amazon or even really eBay or anything. And he's really, he connected with the right people. That's a big thing.
Yeah, I was about to say he's in the community too, so he's probably gaining so much knowledge faster than we were.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, when I had gotten started, like, you had like 200 subscribers, Chris, and there wasn't really like many YouTube channels out and stuff. Like, there's a lot of information out there if you're willing to learn. And obviously, Dhruv he's a student, right? And he's been spending time learning, obviously, getting out there, applying it. He showed up to the Green Room meetup, getting around successful people. So, I mean, you can fast track your success if you get around the right people. But if you try to figure it all out on your own, I don't know, Dhruv. Do you think that you could have been at the level you are right now all by yourself without YouTube and Green Room? And this isn't the plug to Green Room, but all the other amazing YouTubers out there. Do you think it would have been possible?
Definitely not. I mean, you know, for me personally, it took me a while to get started. You know, I had been traveling extensively for the first 6 months, for the first 4 to 6 months of the year. I'd been traveling extensively. And while I was traveling, the main question that I had was, how do I generate passive income? How do I generate passive income? And I'd been grappling with that issue, doing research, reading, looking on YouTube, asking people, connecting for months. I mean, months before I even felt ready or comfortable to get into it. So for me personally, I put in and invested a lot of research up front to figure out, well, how much can I realistically make, and figuring out the end point before I started and what I really wanted it to look like. And a lot of people kind of just go into it, just go into it. And obviously, in certain cases that is important. You don't want to be paralyzed by your fears. Some people are just so scared that they never do anything, but at the same time, it has to be measured. It has to be measured by a certain amount of research and knowing what you want, what you want out of it before you start. And all of those resources really, for me, helped me figure out the answer to those questions.
See, guys, I told you this was going to be a banger of a show. I told you. Dhruv, man, we had such a good time when he was riding along. He was on the ride along like 2 weeks ago.
I didn't hear this passion come out at the meetup, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Well, he was in the front row, like absorbing it all. Like, I don't know if you noticed it, but he was in the front row of the seminars. Yes, I remember that.
No, he was the sponge.
He was the sponge. He was the he's the 22-year-old sponge, man. That's probably what we should call the show.
The
22-year-old sponge. I didn't know sponges had that much of a lifespan.
I hope that doesn't stick.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're talking about books and everything like that. Of all the things you gravitated towards books, there's a bunch of other things that it could have been that are just as small, but really, Dhruv, like, why books? Like, is it because they're easily available here in Austin, Texas? Like, why books outside of electronics, all this other random stuff that you could have picked up, scanned, whatever?
For sure. I mean, that's definitely a part of it. I mean, there's books everywhere. And for me personally, I was an English major in college. So I've always loved reading. I've always loved reading. I've always loved knowledge. I've always loved consuming knowledge. And we're going to talk about this later on, but I am obsessed with the learning process, and how to effectively learn. That's a big focus of not only my research, that I do in graduate school, but also my general outlook and approach to life. So for me, books were just the natural fit. And I think that especially for people just starting out, Steve, you talk about this, right? About the shiny object syndrome, right? That you can just go on, oh, merch by Amazon is here. Oh, you have, private label, you have wholesale, you have all of these various avenues or ways that you can resell. But in order to be great at reselling, what you first need to do is focus in, especially those first 3 to 6 months. You have to focus in on one and really develop and hone your craft there and focus in on that and not get distracted by those other things. And that's the way I think. You can branch out later, but that's the way I think, especially if you're just starting out, to what you should be doing.
Yeah. What do you guys think about? What do you guys think about in the feed to that statement right there? And Raken, you can echo in on that statement as well. Starting out with 3 to 6 months of like intense focus on one thing before you start branching out on other things. First of all, the feed, let me know what you think about that statement. And Raken, what do you think about that statement?
Yeah, I think the biggest reason why I agree with that is building up your confidence, because so many people are coming into the world of making money online, whether it's passive or active, right? Whether it's eBay or Amazon or Craigslist, local or fulfillment centers at FBA, but a lot of people deep down in their mind, they know it's true, but that you can make money with it, but they don't really believe that they can do it. So I think that first 3 to 6 months, especially at least the first 3 months, get some confidence under your belt by having success. And you're not going to have success if you're jumping all around at the beginning. Later on, you can put systems in place, such as having 300 or 400 items in FBA, and then you can leave that alone for a couple months, build up your eBay business. Eventually, FBA is going to start to dwindle down because your inventory is going to get low, but then you could start kind of moving around and learning different things. So I agree completely, but I would say the number one reason is to build up that confidence.
Yeah. So, Dhruv, besides books, have you gone outside of books just a little bit? Have you tried something else in this 4 months that you've started reselling?
Yeah, board games. So yeah, I really like board games. I have to be careful.
Okay, hold on, Drew. Like, why board games? Because when they're used, you got to count all these pieces and stuff. And I mean, I get when they're new. Like, they usually can have some pretty good resale. But like when they're used and stuff, then you got to count all the pieces or go with that manual and go, how many houses and wood blocks of this or there. Rakin's kind of smiling because he probably knows exactly what I'm talking about. CP knows what I'm talking about. Drew, why board games outside of books?
Yeah, I mean, so I definitely agree. You should focus on new board games versus old board games or used board games, and you should make sure that they're packaged. All of that, super important. For me, and this might just be a local town, preference, but for some reason, and I don't know why, college students love board games. And they don't really care if it's used or new or whatever. They don't care. I mean, they'll just text you like, oh, I'm missing, a die. Oh, do you want me to pick you up a die? Nah, don't worry about it. They don't really, they're not so concerned with having all the pieces there. They just want to get it and play. So for me,
it's like the icebreaker during the drinking session.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for me personally, a lot of the used board games, I'll just put up on Craigslist, OfferUp, one of these other platforms, and put all of my new board games on Amazon FBA. That's what I do personally. But,
so do you go to garage sales and you just pick these things up for dirt cheap and you lot them up on Craigslist kind of thing? Or what's your angle on the board games on Craigslist?
So I'll do a couple of things. One is I'll take a picture of like 10 or 15 board games and I'll set like a standard price for all of them. And I'll be like, if you want any of these board games, so you have the option. If you want any of these board games, just let me know and you got it. So that's one way. So I'll batch board games into one and then I'll send it off. The other way I'll do it is if I know that a particular board game has already sold. So let's say I've already sold Monopoly like 2 or 3 times to different college students. I know that there's a market out there for that specific used board game. So I'll just put it up by itself because I know someone will get it. Risk, for example, a lot of people for some reason really like Risk. So I'll take Risk, especially if it's used, and I'll just put it up on one of those other platforms to sell.
Okay, cool.
So we killed your board game hustle, man. We didn't know you were doing that. I didn't know you were selling them to college students like without having to count the pieces. We thought you were like parting them out or I don't know what we thought you were doing.
Yeah, it was mostly CP. He didn't know what was going on.
Well, I think
I
was throwing a lot of caution to Drew because I've seen a lot of people who are brand new, and I thought you were falling into this trap. Maybe you weren't though. A lot of people who are brand new, and I'm sure you guys can all agree with this in the audience as well. You get so excited to be in the reselling game, you start buying everything. And then next thing you know, your house is just like full of crap. And then you have to like donate a bunch of it back. So I always try to tell people when they're new, like I know you're excited, but kind of take your time and like learn how to analyze a deal before you just buy it. Because certain things like board games that are used can turn into a lot of work, counting the pieces and then making sure everything's there. So
yeah, and I was gonna say it's funny because my approach to life is very minimalist. I don't like clutter. I don't like being everywhere. One of the pieces of advice I heard that like blew my mind and changed the way I did everything was someone, I think it was at the Green Room event actually, someone said just put all of your stuff in one room and have that room be a dedicated space to where you do your Amazon FBA stuff. And I was like, oh my God, why didn't I do that months ago? And so I took all of the stuff and I put it there and I make sure that it's organized. And also if it's becoming too unruly, I don't feel guilty. I don't feel guilty about letting it go. Just going to Half Price Books, for example, or one of these outlets and just being like, I overextended myself. I'm new. I'm learning. I might take the L, but in the long run, I'm going to hopefully not do this again and, grow from this experience. So
at least you're conscious you're taking the L and you're growing from it.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Like 4 months in, like, Dhruv, I think you know too much. We're going to have to split this show up into like 10 segments, man. There's too much knowledge being spilled here. God, man, you're crazy, dude. Most people would never think about that 4 months in. In fact, 4 months into my reselling game, I was doing primarily bikes, and I was holding on to a bunch behind the house thinking, oh, they're always going to be worth money. And they always were worth money, but it was just dead money if they're not doing anything,
Yeah, I was going to say for me, mental health is really important. Mental health is really important. And the reason why I approach lifestyle through being a minimalist, decluttering, you know, the magic of tidying up, all of that is because when there's stuff everywhere, it interferes with my ability to execute on other issues because I'm just so concerned with all of that stuff.
Me too. I agree with that like 1,000,000%, dude. 1,000,000%.
Yeah, so I have to for my own mental health. And that's, you know, one of the big issues that not specific to reselling, obviously, but that I have to constantly manage and deal with and make sure that I'm on top of.
Chris, didn't you have an issue where you almost like imploded because?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Before I'll talk about that in a second. Well, yeah, I had a lot of things going on. There was some like, you know, relationship stuff going on. Then there was like inventory stuff going on, and I literally imploded for like 6 days. And I told the admin staff, like, look, I'm gone for like 6 days. I can't handle this. And I actually, oh, there was some marriage stuff involved too. I went to a therapist for 4 sessions and I got all that done. But that's when I started realizing that your mental health, I mean, I knew it was very important, but when I wasn't me anymore, that's when I thought it was very disturbing, and I had to involve a professional. So, and I'm okay with saying that. Honestly, if you're trying to tackle all this by yourself and you think like, I can do it, sometimes you're too far gone and you might have to involve a professional. So think about that, whether it comes to love or finances or marriage kind of stuff. Like, you got to think those ways. Like, you don't know everything. You just don't. And sometimes when it's too late, it's too late. So,
but it's so true what Dhruv said though. When everything's a mess, like if your inventory is all over, it interferes with making really good decisions in other areas. And I wasn't trying to put your personal life on blast, so I apologize, Chris. But I remember you were getting overwhelmed with like, it's not like you were out of control of your inventory, but you had stuff that you did that were just out of place or this or that. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I drop stuff off for donations like every 2 weeks. Honestly, like every 2 weeks, I have a donation bin. And I don't care if I'm like what Dhruv says, taking an L. Hopefully, people in the feed know what taking an L means. Like, there's a W and there's an L. Like, you can figure it out. You know what? What does an L mean? The people in the feed, do you know what an L means?
Really? Are you asking the audience what an L is?
I will ask the audience because it's kind of like 3 years ago terminology. Like, it's been around for about 3 years. Like,
taking an L has been around for 3 years.
Yeah, about 3, right? In the mainstream like talk and video.
Wouldn't it be a D for deduction instead of an L?
No, it's an anyway, okay. What? Just let's see if the people in the feed know what taking an L is. And by the way, while you're in the feed, guys, and you want to be a little interactive, on a scale of 1 to 100, how intense is today's guest? Let me know. Because Dhruv, if you get 80s, man, that is an L right there, dude. So we got to get hundreds, man. We got to get hundreds. So In the Sun by the Beach has it right. It's taking a loss. An L can be a lot of things. It can be a failed rap, right, Rake? And it can be all kinds of things that don't go right. It's like taking an L.
A failed rap.
Yeah,
it could be a timing belt that just explodes.
Yeah, see, like it could be a loss, like taking an L, like timing belt blowing up on a van. That's like the van taking an L right there.
What if you put your shirt in the dryer and it's too small and you put it on and it's just like squeezing your arms?
This is definitely an L shirt, right? Actually, it's kind of baggy. Like, I wish they would make these green room shirts a little bit less baggy right here, but I still like it. Okay, so 99.9, 101, 100 for Dhruv. Dhruv, you're delivering, man. So just so you know, 98.5. Reseller Rita, that's a tough one. That's a tough judge right there. 99.8, Jillian, that's a tough judge as well. Joe Schmo, 99.9. All right. So let's talk about, in your short experience selling books on Amazon, what are some like 3 tips or key takeaways that you can give to the watchers in your limited experience selling books on Amazon? 3 tips.
So I think that if you're new to Amazon, you've never sold anything on Amazon before, I think that the first shipment, that should be what you focus on. That first shipment is the hardest. That first shipment. If you can get that first shipment done and sent out, I think the rest become a lot easier. Because for the first shipment, you are like, what materials do I need? You know, how many boxes, you know, sourcing, getting items, figuring out the interface on Amazon, on Seller Central on Amazon, all of these questions. There's so many questions and kind of things you have to figure out to get your first shipment out. And then after that, you're golden. You have all of the materials there because you bought it now. You have all of you know what it takes to send a shipment. And I think that first shipment, as you know, Rick and Profits was saying, helps to build and inspire confidence. helps to build and inspire confidence, which is really important. So that's number one. Number two, obviously, we talked about this, prioritizing and figuring out what you want to specialize in. What you want to specialize in is super important. And if it's used books, video games, you know, what are you actually interested in? You know, think of it like a treasure hunt. You know, you're hunting for treasures. You know, that's how I think about it. And then the third takeaway is, and I know it's early. I know it's early and you're like, why should I even be thinking about this to begin with? But you need to have some conception of the endpoint before you start. The book that I read that was really, really good on this topic was The E-Myth Revisited, okay, by Michael Gerber. And basically, he talks a lot about having systems, independent process versus dependent processes, and putting in systems in order to eventually extricate yourself from the business. Now, the question that you have to then pose, if you choose to go that route, is how many people would that operation have? Now, I'm not saying you need to know all of the answers to that question, but you have to at least start thinking about it as you're going through the process of sending out your first shipment, learning how to analyze deals. That should always be in the back of your mind. What will this really look like, and what can I shape this to be in the end? So that way, when you start, you know what you need to do. So
okay, that leads perfectly into the next. I got an echo.
Not me.
Dhruv, was that you?
I'm muted.
All right, it might have been Dhruv. It's all good. That's that. Hey, you just took the L right now. That was an L. All right, so that leads us perfectly into this next question. Everyone ramps up their business eventually. How will you ramp up yours?
So right now I'm teaching a few of my friends how to analyze books and how to find books. And, you know, so I'm going through that process. So that'll probably, I'm going to do that for about 2 to 3 months before I start outsourcing the latter half, which is the shipping, the boxing and the shipping. That I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna continue to source, obviously. But right now, what I'm working on currently is bringing in a few people who I trust and who are close to me and teaching them everything I know. So that's what I'm working on right now, and then eventually the entire process will be outsourced. You know, I'm looking at 6 to 12 months, but you know, we'll see. And
are you going to be hiring your friends like an hourly rate, like Jerry Baleb did?
Yeah, I'm considering that model or a commission model. So I'm still thinking about it, and I'm still working on it. Right now, I'm creating a guidebook or general blueprint, a few pages that everyone will have, that they'll be able to just reference when they're out. And also, I've already started talking to potential friends and people who are genuinely interested and curious about making money online, doing all of that work. And I don't have any secrets, I don't have any secrets. So, yeah.
Okay. So much like your debate conference days, talk to us about let's talk about your debate conference days real quick.
Okay.
I heard an echo.
Just start.
Yeah, like because this is going to kind of tie into the. I hear an echo.
I don't know where the echo is coming from.
Drew, I think something's going on in your end.
It could be Eric.
How's it mine?
I don't know.
Muted, Eric.
I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah, mute Eric real quick. Let's take a look. Let me make sure. Eric, mute. Yeah, so basically, if you want to route the sound, look at the little gear thing at the top and route the sound how you want it.
Okay, where do I route the sound?
I've never done this in my life. You were just like, get on this hangout, start talking. I was like, all right, I didn't know all this audio stuff.
Wow. All right, so yeah, on the top it says speaker. Like route your speaker to your ear, and then route the microphone to the microphone.
Or just turn the volume down if it's coming out of the microphone and it's coming out of the earpiece and getting to the microphone.
Got it. Is this better?
Yeah.
I think it is. Yes.
Okay.
Much better. Man, that was Transformer.
That was so literal.
All right, so let's talk about your debate. Like, how much? Let's go to your debate school days or your debate days in UT. How much preparation? We talked about this in the spaceship. Like, how much preparation goes into a true debate, and how long is the debate usually? So,
a debate is about 2 hours long, and it's usually 2 to 3 days, usually 3 to 4 rounds each. So it's intense. I mean, really about, 20 to 40 hours. I mean, the days you start at 6 a.m. and you end at 9 p.m. And even when you're not debating, you're thinking about debate, obviously. So it's intense. It's intense days. And it requires a lot of preparation, a lot of research. You know, that was all my summers. You know, the last 4 or 5 summers I've taught at debate institutes. I've worked with high school students. I've worked with college students. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work. And, you know, going back for a second, a little before my debate days, I mean, I've always been competitive and confident. I've always been competitive and confident. When I was around 12, 13 years old, I strongly was considering dropping out of high school to pursue chess. I'd been playing chess semi-professionally. I'd been missing a lot of school, going during the weekends. And that was a lot of research, a lot.
What was your ELO?
And my ELO at the time that I left, and I'll tell you why I left in a second. It was about, I was competing at about a 1700 to a 1900 level. So that's about like master. That's
I was gonna say that's almost grandmaster, isn't it? That's pretty good.
Yeah. And then, so that required a lot of work. And then so I started off playing chess at a very young age. And then, you know, there was an audition, and we've talked about this. There was an audition at my school for an acting job, for an acting gig being on reality TV. So I was like, I want to be on national TV. What 13, 14-year-old doesn't want to be on national TV? So I stopped playing chess, and I went and I auditioned for this show, and I got this show. And that was maybe a year of my life. So I was followed around by cameras all the time. And you know, we went to LA, we did a bunch of shoots, and it was intense and it was crazy. And because I'm sure all of you know this, but you know, being so young and having to be on camera, it took a lot out of me, and it required a lot of sacrifice. And half of the stuff that they required me to do, I believe that no 13 or 14-year-old should ever have to do in their entire life. So, you know, for example, I told you the story. They made me go around my high school. I'm 13, mind you, with roses, a bouquet of roses. And I had to give roses to every girl at the school. And then I said to them, well, what if they say, why are you giving me this rose? Like, what should I say? I don't know what to say. Their response was, when you give them the rose and they ask you why, you should respond, to celebrate the beauty of all women. That's what they said.
So this show was on what network, real quick? And what was it called?
It was on MTV. It was a spin-off of Made, if you're familiar with the show Made.
Familiar, yeah.
And it was all about becoming a ladies' man. That was the premise of the show.
What?
And yeah.
Awesome.
And they made me open, get this, Steve, they made me open for a Screamo band. I was 13. I was like, I have no idea how to open for a Screamo band. So I talked to the band. I was like, what should I do? And they were like, do you know what Screamo is? And I was like, yeah, I have some idea. They're like, just get up there and scream for as long and as loud as you possibly can. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I went up there and I did that, and my voice cracked about 5 seconds in, and it was the highest pitch Screamo 13-year-old you've ever heard in your entire life. Hundreds of people were there. Intense. So anyway, so I have so many of those stories. But anyway, I got through that. I met Kim Kardashian. I met Shia LaBeouf. I met Michael Bay. Transformers. We went to the premiere in LA.
Oh, wow.
So after that, I quit. I mean, not quit, but, you know, I moved on from that. And I started to play poker pretty competitively. I started to move into poker. Chess, I was kind of losing interest in, and poker for me was the next best fit because I thought many of the skills were transferable. So I started playing poker in all the underground leagues. This is 15, 16, 17, you know, so I'm playing poker in all of these leagues. And then we get to college, you know, and I was like, what do I do? So I decided to do debate, and you can kind of see how all of the skills, you know, chess to poker, you know, building up confidence, all of those taught me how to be more confident, and also taught me that I was a competitive person. So debate was a natural fit, and I became one of the top debaters at my university. I won multiple national awards. I was one of the top debaters in the country for the last 2 years, and I had no high school experience. So compared to all of my contemporaries who had been doing it 8, 9, 10 years, I'd been only doing it for a few years before I got success. So, you know, you talk about preparation, you talk about hustle, you talk about competitiveness, and all of those I think are key ingredients in not only why I've been successful, but the mindset that I brought forth in debate, And so I think it's important to understand that. And, you know, obviously debate is my life, and I owe everything to debate. And, you know, I just want to make that clear that it requires a lot of hard work, requires a lot of hard work and a lot of self-sacrifice, 40, 50, 60 hours, weeks, priorities. School was not a priority.
And the stories start getting crazy, Rick. Can you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm very curious how a debate actually works. Now, do you choose do you choose a topic and then how does it basically, is it like go back and forth, or is it like a judge? Like, I don't understand the whole concept of how it works.
Yeah, so there's a topic for a year. The type of debate that I do is called policy debate. And it's primarily, policy implicating research focus and intricate policy details about the United States federal government. So we'll have one topic for a year, and then you debate both sides of the issue. So you're both, pro and con. And so that focuses on depth, right, over breadth. So it's not different topics every single time. It's one topic for a year. And so an example of a topic might be, the United States federal government should, increase their military presence in a certain country, or the United States federal government should decrease their military presence in a certain country, etc. So then you would debate that topic for a year.
So you're just researching different facts and supporting arguments and different things like that, and you're thinking ahead of what your competitors are going to say, so then you can have a plan of attack of how to kind of approach that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. That's really cool. It's almost like chess in a sense, right? Because you've got to plan like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead to know what the person's going to say and what you're going to say. It's cool.
It's exactly like chess. I mean, it's exactly like chess in a lot of ways. It's a lot like poker in a lot of ways. The sacrifice that it takes for all of those activities. I mean, I think that, definitely.
How do they choose a winner, real quick?
So there's a judge. The judge is usually an academic. So, grad school, they're either a grad assistant, they're a debate coach, etc. And so, so they get to decide, and they have mutual preferences between you and your opponent. So you rank all the judges that you prefer. And, they have an algorithm, but we won't get into that. So,
I got a great comment real quick. In the Sun by the Beach says there's some really good people in the green room. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have this show, because outside of the show, I don't know if many people know who Dhruv was even before the meetup, right? The meetup, people got to meet Dhruv, and then it's one of those ways, and I think Dhruv will start a YouTube channel one day. I'm trying to help him find a perfect word for his channel and everything. I still think it should be called Dhruv's World. So that's just what I think.
Like Wayne's World. That's awesome.
I'm doing it. I've done it. I have a newsletter. I'm working on it. I'm working on the YouTube channel. I'm working on everything.
Because it's not just reselling related. I know you expressed how you want to go into some of the other stuff we're going to be talking about, but you want to keep it very broad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So in order to, here's a statement I want you to see, and this is for the people in the feed too. I'm like, do you agree with this statement? Yes or no. So simple yes or no in the feed. Let me know. But this is to Dhruv. In order to achieve great things, you must work hard and get into uncomfortable situations where you may fail. Do you believe this? Why or why not?
Yeah, I mean, I 100%. I think that people want to be great, but they don't know what they want to be great at. And I think that the only way to do that is to fail and to experiment and to fail and to experiment and to fail and to experiment. And that's the only way that not only do you figure out what you actually want to be great at, because the reason why you want to know what you want to be great at and why you want to be great at it is because that way you can persevere through the losses. You can persevere through the failure because you genuinely enjoy it. You know why you want to do it and you know what that is. But a lot of people don't know. So they have to experiment. And experimenting is also good because it teaches you about self-awareness. So going back to the question, yes, I think that, yes, working hard, getting uncomfortable to the point of failure, super important in order to not only be great, but figure out what you want to be great at and why.
Man, too much. Your debate skills are out of control, man. Like I literally am just like at the end of your statement, I'm kind of like, damn, that was a pretty good answer. Like every single time. Anyways, all right, so let's talk. I want to skip number 11 because I don't even want to be at that one right now. I want to go towards the little bit more of like the mind stuff and the cool stuff. Which I think this is where you get like really jazzed up, and I think this is going to be a little bit more of the eye opener. We got 20 minutes in the show left. So it's stated that humans only use X amount of their brains on a regular basis, right? The X I've read in books, it could be 30, 20, 10. Like I've heard. It's just different things in every book. So it's stated that humans only use X amount of their brains on a regular basis. What's your take on this? And are there ways to start unlocking your brain to achieve more, Dhruv?
I mean, I think that the theory is like false in a lot of ways. I think we actually do use most parts of our brain. I mean, I think that question's a little bit separate from the question of do we have the potential to be more, to be great? But in terms of that specific, right, like humans only use 10% of their brain. I think that theory specifically has been pretty debunked. I'm not a scientist, so I don't claim to know that. But I think that to answer that question of how do you unlock your brain to achieve more, for me, one of the central understandings that I've come to is redefining risk. Redefining risk, and not just knowing that intellectually, but at the experiential level. And what I mean to say is I think that we need to redefine risk, and this is straight from Tim Ferriss. We need to redefine risk as the likelihood of an irreversible negative outcome. So he advocates for an approach called fear setting versus goal setting, and he gave a great TEDx talk about it pretty recently. So for me, I think that one of the ways to unlock your brain to achieve more is to redefine the way in which we, all of us think about risk in order to engage with that question more and ultimately be more vulnerable.
Okay. Give 3 simple ways people can start to unlock their minds. Let's maybe talk about meditation, journaling, breathing exercises, things that we talked about in the car, in the spaceship.
Okay.
Let's go with meditation first. Are you familiar with meditation, right?
Yeah. Am I familiar? Yeah.
Yeah, you do it like every day, right?
Yeah, I do it every day. I think if you win the morning, you win the day, as has been said by multiple people. And yeah, so meditation is very much a part of my morning routine every day. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you did something called a silent retreat or something like that, right? What was this thing? And kind of explain it to the people. I think this is going to be one of the biggest eye-opening kind of things, because I thought when I heard this come out of your mouth in the spaceship, I was like asking all kinds of questions about this thing. So what is this thing that you went on, and how long was it?
So I went to a 10-day silent meditation retreat in April, and there were a variety of reasons why I went, but I'll explain first what it is. So basically, you can't talk to anyone, okay?
Reagan's already starting to think.
Talk to anyone for 10 days. There is one meal, one main meal served a day and one minor meal. It's all vegetarian. And it is, you can't write, you can't read, you can't talk, and you spend basically 8 to 10 hours a day just meditating. That's what it is. And there's no outside communication with the world. You hand in your cell phone, you hand in all of your possessions when you go in, and it's free. This is a free Vipassana meditation. It's free. They have it in all major cities across the United States. I did mine in Dallas. Right by Dallas, and so yeah, so it's quite an experience. It's definitely something I think that if you're into meditation, if you're into consciousness raising, if you're into self-awareness, you have to have that on the list. You have to have that on the list.
How many days did you last?
I mean, all 10 days. You can't.
So once you commit, you can't just like come and go. Like you have to commit and stay the 10 days. Like that's kind of like.
Yeah.
Respect it if you do. Yeah.
Yeah. And in my head, it's funny. I'd been meditating, Headspace, Calm, all of these apps. I'd been meditating every day for maybe 6 months, prior. So I was like, oh, meditation retreat, I got this. No worries. The first 3 to 4 days of the 10 days, I was in such excruciating pain. I can't even articulate it in words. I mean, it was painful.
Really?
Yeah. My back, we're not used to sitting still for long periods of time. We are not designed to do that. We are not designed, but we're not used to doing that. it's always go, 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 motion, 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 you know, especially if you're in the hustler mindset, you know, especially if you are interested in, you know, being in entrepreneurship, all of those fields. And so the first few days were excruciating, and my back specifically was man, my back hurt a lot.
What type of meditation is this? Because I know there's so many different types. Are you like legs crossed, like shoulders out?
Yeah, so it's called Vipassana. So it's called.
Yeah, I looked up the Vipassana. I didn't know that was the style. I didn't know that. I have that on a website right now.
Yeah, it focuses a lot on breathing initially, and then it's about sensations on your body, and the whole point of the practice is to not develop attachments to sensation. So very much derived obviously from Buddhism, right? The idea that the two major problems are aversion and craving. So we don't like something and we do like something, aversion and craving. And so the point of the practice is to try to objectively understand and observe that in order to kind of see where all of our pain points have been. And the reason why I think this is important, and I'm sure you know, many of you can attest to this, sometimes the problem that we think is the problem isn't actually the problem, you know. So I think, you know, that's why I really enjoyed the experience, you know, and it was, I don't know, it was enlightening, it was eye-opening, and I'm a lot more calmer, and I think I actually know what meditation is. The reason why I did it was because Sam Harris, for example, neuroscientist, Waking Up, has his own podcast, really popular. He said, and I've heard this from other people too, that you don't actually know what meditation is until you've done a 10-day meditation retreat. You don't.
So what was?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. So what was the feeling like after? I'm sure after 4 or 5, after the pain went away. Like, what was your inner dialogue like? What was your mental state like? What were the differences that you felt? And lastly, when you came out of it, like, just how were you different? You know, because I've meditated before for upwards to an hour. That's as long as I've done it.
Yeah.
And I went to a place called the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and for, you know, about a week, I was meditating every day, several times. And it's a very nice, peaceful, relaxing feeling. And you really get control of your inner dialogue. You learn really quickly that you are thousands of thoughts every single day, and you're reacting all the time. So how was that, man? Because I'm very, very intrigued.
So there's like a 5-10 minute section, right, in which you get to talk to the guru, you know. So I went up to him after the 3rd or 4th day, and I'm like, I am in so much pain, so much pain. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I can continue. I just like, there's so much pain. And he said to me, when you make the physical pain mental pain, it multiplies. He said, when you make the physical pain mental pain, it multiplies. And so as much as I could, I tried to not focus on the pain in a way that I got emotional about it, right? But I tried to objectively observe as much as I could. And I'll let you all know that, and I don't want to say that this will happen to everyone, but after those 3 or 4 days and really, really trying to readjust my thought and, like you were saying, control that inner dialogue, I would say 70 to 80% of the pain went away. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, I was just like, damn.
Are you allowed to use nonverbal communication there?
No, you're not supposed to communicate with anyone outside of like the guru for like 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, if it's an emergency, you know, and it's something that you really, I mean, you know, it's not like militant. Like if you have a real issue and you need to talk to a guru about it, or, you know, they have people there. Yeah. So.
All right, let's talk about journaling. You journal frequently? We got to start blasting through some of these questions, but yeah, shed a little bit of light on journaling. Do you do that?
Yeah, I journal. I'm sorry, I talk too much, but okay, journaling. So I have 2 journals. So that's another part of my morning routine. I have 2 journals. So one is the 5-minute journal. If you're not familiar with the 5-minute journal, super easy, you know, it takes less than 5 minutes. And, you know, you just put 3 things that you're grateful for. You put a few affirmations and what would make the day great. And so I will usually do that in the morning. And then I have another journal just because my memory is so bad. I have very bad memory. Like I can't remember half of the debates, for example, that I was in. I forget meeting
Too much
people.
information in your head.
Yeah, really bad memory. And so,
Hard drive is full.
so I used that journal, that second journal, just to be like, this is what I did the previous day or two, and that was important from the day. So I don't just write like every single thing. I'm just like, I went to Japan, I went to Nara and went to a deer park, and I saw a giant Buddha statue. I'll just write the important things of that day just so I remember it. And the thing about journaling, initially I thought journaling was like kind of whack. Like I didn't understand the purpose of it. I was just like journaling, like, I guess some people have told me to do it, I'll try it, but I don't really understand it. And you know something, the real value of journaling is looking back. I don't know if any of you journal, but the real value of journaling is looking back, because you're like, damn, I've really changed my mindset and what I thought a few months ago to where I am today. And you literally get to see the transformation of what you're thinking about and how you've been changing on paper, and it helps you figure out a little bit better where you're going in the future. So initially I was like, this is whack. But then after doing it for a few months and then doing my year in review, so I do a year in review, I was just like, wow, this is actually like really powerful and taught me a lot about my progression through the months. And it drastically changes. It drastically changes.
All right, let's shed a little bit of time on breathing exercises. What do you know about breathing exercises? Do you ever do them?
Vipassana is very simple. It's not complex. It's all about kind of initially, especially when you're just starting out, just focusing on the breath and the sensations of the breath. And so I'll usually focus on that exclusively. I use guided meditation, so I'll have Headspace, and I'll use some of Tara Brach's guided meditations on YouTube. There's a bunch of them. It's free, and so that kind of guides my breathing. So I don't really have a specific pattern, that I rely on. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What are some? Oops, I'm hearing that echo again. All right. So what are some deeper ways that some people resort to unlocking their minds? Let's talk about some of this interesting stuff that you and I talked about. But let's talk about float tanks.
Yeah.
So I'm going to end up doing this thing probably after my vacation. But describe a float tank to people out there, because they have them in Austin and several places, right?
Yeah, for sure. They have it in all major cities. All major cities. It's specifically in the health and wellness, section of the world. But I think that its applications extend far beyond that. I think its extensions are far beyond that. So a flotation tank is basically, you can think of it like a pod, okay? And it's about 2 inches of water in a pod, in a contained, closed off space. It's about 2 inches of water, so you can stand on the water, and about 1,000+ pounds of Epsom salt. Okay, so you basically float on the water, and
you're lying down, right?
Yeah, you're lying down.
Okay.
It's completely dark, and it's the first time since you were born that you're deprived of all external stimuli. The first time since you were born that you're deprived of all external stimuli. It's just you and your thoughts. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I would freak out in one of these things.
Yeah. So
you've done this thing before, Dhruv, right?
I still don't get it.
It's like a giant chamber that's dark and it's clammy, and I would freak out.
All right, so Dhruv, you've done this before we start downplaying a float tank, which we're not going to do, but like talk about what came through your mind a couple times, here and there. Like, what is something that's very eye-opening about a float tank? Like, most people are like, oh my God, like this happened. Like, what would be one of those things?
Yeah.
What would the high of a float tank kind of feel like?
It's like complete clarity.
Okay.
Like complete clarity of thought. It's just like, and then at that exact moment, that's when it opens and you're done. It's like, no.
Your time's up.
That's funny.
That's happened to me a few times, and every time I'm like, no. But yeah, so that's, yeah. I think that the research on it from a neuroscience perspective, the research on it is fascinating. And we've talked about book recommendations, and I read a lot, but the research on it is fascinating. And Navy SEALs in the compound, how they train Navy SEALs is they actually have flotation tanks there. They have flotation tanks there in order to accelerate learning. in order to accelerate learning. So a lot of the early research is about how flotation tanks can be applied to the learning process in order to accelerate rapid learning, right? And focus on clarity of learning. So anyway, I mean, I think that I'm borderline addicted at this point. I mean, I've done it like a lot. Like
how much is to do it one time? And what is it? Is it like a membership to this thing?
Oh, yeah. So a lot of places have beginner discounts, you know, so maybe like between like $30 to $50, depending on where you are, depending on the city. New York City is going to be really expensive. You know, there's certain places that it's more expensive than other places.
This looks awesome.
I saw the funniest comment, Dhruv. Can I interrupt you?
Yes, please.
All right. From Adam Line, it says, no wonder he's so intense. He's restrained half the time. This guy's like a cannonball. I thought that was a really good one. That's a really good compliment. That means you're thinking fast and you got a lot going on.
I do.
How do you spell this thing? How do you spell it if I want to look it up?
Just float tank, right?
Float tank, dude.
I can't understand if you're saying flow or float.
Float.
So fast. Float tank.
So if you're interested, there's a Vice documentary on it that's really good. Cool. About flotation tanks. It's a 3-part series. Joe Rogan is in it. A bunch of people are in it. There's another video. So Steph Curry, if you're familiar with Steph Curry, obviously, there's a video of him explaining why he uses flotation tanks, and he uses flotation tanks in order to visualize every shot that he's missed. So after training, he'll go into a flotation tank and envision every shot that he's missed. And, you know, there's a lot of really good resources, research, videos about it. So, yeah, I mean, check it out if that's something you're interested in. Or if not, you know, different strokes for different folks.
All right. What about nootropics? Nootropics and stuff like that. Is that how I say it? Nootropics, right? How do you say it, Dhruv?
Nootropics. I mean, I'm not like super into the smart drug game. I mean, I've looked into it. I mean, you know, I know a lot of people on Silicon Valley who are interested in microdosing. So microdosing on things like psilocybin or LSD. And what microdosing is, for those who don't know, is taking extremely small quantities of those drugs. I mean, so much so that you wouldn't even be able to really tell a difference. You wouldn't be able to really tell the difference. It's like 0.2 to 0.5 grams, which is nothing. And so a lot of, I know, entrepreneur types and Silicon Valley types have experimented with microdosing for higher productivity and optimization. So I know that that's kind of one aspect or area of microdosing, you know, so that's I mean, I know some of that, but, you know, depending on how much we want to get into versus other topics, that's up to you.
We won't get to too much into that. Let's talk about like the Amazon Prime game and some of these things that you can buy. And you put in nootropics or whatever in Amazon Prime, and like a bazillion things come up, like literally a bazillion products come up that are pills, and they're kind of expensive. What do you know about those products, or is there one that you prefer over another? Have you ever experimented over time with any of those products?
I experimented a while back with Huperzine A or B, one of the Huperzines, and I mean, I didn't really feel anything, you know, so I don't know. To be honest with you, and we've talked about this before, a lot of my experiences with, you know, smart drugs or psychedelics or any of that has not really had much of an effect on me. I don't know. I don't know why. So for me personally, it hasn't had much of an effect, but, you know, I'll keep on trying and I'll get back to you. So
that's a funny last statement on that whole thing. Now let's talk about some super risky ways that people try to tap into their subconscious or that other part of the mind that no one can get to. And this is crazy risky, hella risky, but we will still talk about it for a second, or what you kind of know about it. So you talked about psychedelics, microdosing, DMT, right? Those are some things that some of the CEOs and the craziest entrepreneurs in the world will do. Things like that. Joe Rogan does it every now and then, I think, or something. What is that really supposed to unlock, or like why would anyone want to do this kind of stuff to see who they are or to get further in life? Like, why would some of this stuff maybe even be considered?
Got it. I think we kind of like delved into the topic a lot and didn't do any like prior kind of build up to it in a lot of ways. A lot of the people who are interested in this type of stuff are very interested in consciousness raising, right? Hacking consciousness. They're very interested. They're at the top of their fields most of the time, 98, 99% there. And they're trying to, you know, create more innovations, create more values, create more ideas. I mean, the CEO of Google, for example, Eric Schmidt, one of the criterion by which he was picked, if you don't already know, was because he went to Burning Man. Burning Man.
Cool.
Burning Man, notorious for experimentation with psychedelics. So I just wanted to give a little bit of context to that. And also, I also want to say that these are ways of, and this drives back to research about flow states. So we haven't explicitly said the words flow and flow states, but that's kind of what we're talking about. And I want to stress that it's not, you don't only have to do it through drugs. You're talking about risky ways to get to that level. Extreme sports. Extreme sports is another very prominent example of a very risky way, right, to enhance or hack consciousness in a lot of ways. So extreme sports I also want to throw out there. And then DMT, I mean, I haven't personally taken DMT. I haven't experienced DMT, so I don't know, what it's like, but I don't know. I've heard things, and according to a lot of people, it does reveal some type of revelation. I can't really speak to it though, because I haven't.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you're going. One of my private label product, or my private label product itself, actually has to do with a flow state. I think I talked to you about this in the taco shop. I was like, the essence of my private label product, and Rakin has one of these things. Don't show it, and CP has one, but it is built upon me seeking the ultimate flow state in life. Like, right? That's essentially like.
It's
so
not
I made
the fidget
this.
Spinner. The fidget spinner can't do it, Chris.
No, it's not a fidget spinner, but it's something, it's simple, but the message behind it is essentially find your flow state, right?
That's awesome. Yeah.
So
I
anyway,
experienced this float state in Japan, I swear, when I was riding my bicycle. I had
and that happens when you're doing extreme things or very endurance-based activities. You can get into almost a trance of a way where you feel completely almost removed from your body. I'm 100% happy, like nothing matters anymore. I've done this when I was
feel
little.
like a superhero.
I've done like 6 hours in the California surf one time, just sitting there, like catching wave after wave after wave, and not even knowing like I need to eat. I might die out here. Like that's the kind of flow state that a lot of people are trying to find through drugs and random stuff, but you can find it naturally.
Flow state or flow state?
Flow state. Flow is the term that professionals give to ultimate happiness. Like that's the actual term. Yeah. The name of my private label product is my take on that term to an ultimate happy state. So anyway, whenever you see that.
From a neuroscience perspective, a lot of the people in neuroscience and positive psychology, that's the term they'll use. People refer to it differently. You might have a term for it, runner's high. There's
right.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you won't know until, when you get there, but if you never got there, it's so elusive. It's very hard to get there. But you have to know what things make you tick. Like what makes me tick might not make Dhruv tick or Rakin tick, but there's certain things, right? But a lot of times it comes with strenuous, risky activity. I've noticed this.
I've noticed it in my workouts, because I've been, ever since I hired my personal trainer, I've been going through these workouts that literally I feel like I'm gonna like die at times. Like it's so hard on my body, and I found that I reach a certain point, usually around like the 70 to 80% point, where it's so freaking hard and demanding. Like I'm going through it and I don't even realize I'm doing it anymore. Like I've detached my mind from all the pain. So
yeah, you'll know when you get to it, because you'll want to repeat it over, and you won't want to get out of that state for the longest time, and that's how you know you're there. So it happens to people that camp in the wilderness, but it usually is stimulated by some sort of activity and some sort of risk. Like there's something that has to be like an element of risk involved. Anyway, so
that would explain it. That would explain everything, man.
Yeah. So just look at some of the stuff on that subject. It'll blow your mind. But yeah, it's called flow. Typically, flow is the term of ultimate happiness. So, anyways, all right, Dhruv, we're going to borrow you for 2 more minutes, real quick.
No, you're good.
We won't get to the last question, which sucks because it's talking about like festivals and concerts and certain foods that might unlock like mind power and stuff like that. We can't get to that one. But how about giving us 3 awesome books that can change your brain state or your mind state, or maybe lead you to some of this flow kind of stuff? 3 books that you told me Stealing Fire was one, right?
Yeah, Stealing Fire, How Silicon Valley, the Navy SEALs, and maverick scientists are revolutionizing the way we live. I don't know, it has a really long title for no reason. But yeah, so Stealing Fire just came out earlier this year by Stephen Kotler and Jamie Wheel, who are esteemed neuroscientists in their field. And all of their research is about flow states and how various sectors and fields are applying flow and understand flow. And they're really interested in analyzing it from a neuroscience perspective and a scientific perspective, because the basic argument that they make is for far too long, we've kind of not only held it in taboo and not discussed that at all. So they have a kind of history or genealogy of why we've neglected to even understand it. And they talk about how we need to rescue our understanding and make it more kind of mainstream in a certain type of way because of its potential for genuinely helping people. When you think about Johns Hopkins University and the research that they're doing in terms of psilocybin treating depression, when you think about how MDMA is being used to treat soldiers with PTSD, for example, their argument is there's so many more applications if we choose to actually understand where it's coming from and where its roots are, as opposed to just judging and dismissing it off the bat. So that's the argument they attempt to make.
That's awesome, man. What's the second book? That's an awesome. I'm going to totally order this book and read it. But anyway, what's your second one?
So the second book is not directly related to flow states, but I do think is tangentially. It's called Being Wise. Have any of you heard of this book? It's called On Being Wise, An Inquiry into the Mystery of Art and Living by Krista Tippett. Krista Tippett, who's a Peabody Award-winning journalist for, I want to say The Atlantic. I might be wrong about that, but she is amazing. And she interviews people who are tackling some of the toughest problems from the perspective very much based in ideas and notions of spirituality, self-care, love. And her podcast is also amazing. And the way the book operates is it's just the best selective parts of those conversations. And it's all about the question of how do we prioritize being wise? How do we deal with questions of major global issues from a way. I like the way she puts it. She says that we live in a broken world. This is the argument that she attempts to make. We live in a broken, fractured world. How do we create meaning in that world? And that's what the entire book is about. So, Being Wise, Krista Tippett's Inquiry into the Mystery of Art and Living, fantastic.
That's Krista Tippett?
Yeah.
Okay.
Krista.
Yeah.
What's that third one?
So the third one is, maybe you're familiar with it, The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin. Josh Waitzkin is one of my favorite people. Are any of you familiar with Searching for Bobby Fischer?
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that one. Yes.
Josh Waitzkin is what that movie is based on.
Oh, interesting.
So he was a chess prodigy at the age of 8 or 9. He became a grandmaster. Most people don't know what happened next, though, because that's where the story leads off. He then became one of the top martial artists in the world, in the country, and started training under Marcelo Garcia, and became one of the top Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioners. And now his entire focus is dedicated to the learning process from the 99% to the 100%. So he has a consulting service, a very private, exclusive consulting service where he works with the top performers, athletes, finance, people at the top of their fields in peak performance psychology. So that's what he does. And this book, The Art of Learning, is about his learning process and about how he thinks we should approach the learning process. Fantastic book. Crazy book. But yeah, so I tried to give you some books that were not just, Tim Ferriss 4-hour work, not just the normal books. These are some of the books that, it had been recommended to me a few times, and I was like, it sounds really interesting, but maybe, I'll wait on it. And then when I read it, I was like, damn, I should have read this months ago. So,
I don't know if I should go with Stealing Fire or The Art of Learning.
I think you should order all of them, dude. Yeah.
And the Krista Tippett's one, it's on Audible. And I think that it's better to listen to it on Audible because that way you get to actually hear the conversation, by the way.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I didn't ask about this on the show.
Yes.
Rakin, you know what I didn't ask on the show because the show is too damn interesting. Rakin, what did we not ask for on this show? We didn't even think about it because it was just too good.
Yeah, I'm going to take a wild guess here, and I'm going to say that we didn't ask anybody to hit that little thumbs up button that shows support.
Turn it blue.
That's right. Hit the like button for Dhruv, for the guest. If not for the green room or anything else, or even my channel, I want you to hit it for the guest because I wanted a different type of show tonight. After being in the spaceship, yes, I could have just hoarded all this stuff to myself and just like met up with Dhruv and like got to know Dhruv more and more and never shared it with you guys, but I chose to share it with you guys. And I thought it would be a really interesting type of show that was completely different than, the normal type of reselling shows that we do. And I think it's important. Controlling your mind can control everything else, your love, your finances, your drive, but it starts with your mind. So I thought it would be great to talk to someone that was a novice reseller that had accomplished a lot of stuff in life and was working on, learning about the brain more, like how it acts and motivation and all kinds of stuff. So thought it was an amazing show. If you think the same, make sure you hit the like button. And if you disliked it, make sure to retract it and hit it to the like button. Anyway, so Dhruv, we're done with the show, man. We good with that?
Yeah. This is my first time ever really doing anything like this or talking about my experiences in any degree. So thank you very much. And I appreciate the green room immensely. I also have a newsletter. It's called Dhruv's World. Got you on that title. And so that's coming out every month. It's just once per month. If you want exclusive book recommendations, if you want productivity hacks, free giveaways, so much. There's going to be so much. I'm pouring a lot of time and energy into this, and I think it's going to be really, really special. So if anyone is interested in signing up for that newsletter, I'll link it below, or we'll figure it out. But definitely sign up for that. Yeah.
It's a newsletter to a website, or is it like run by a YouTube channel? Like, what is this thing?
It's email.
Okay, cool.
Email newsletter. Yeah, we'll get a.
We will definitely get that on the first link.
Throw in the description. Pin a comment with it in it too. It just make it easier.
Okay.
Yeah. So make sure you put a comment after the thing goes live. You can find Dhruv in the green room. Dhruv S. I won't say his last name on the show, but you can find him in the green room. He's readily available. Anything else we can do for you, Dhruv? We good?
No, we are fantastic. Smash that like button. You know what it is. And I appreciate all of you. Go make it happen.
Yeah, we'll get you on another show for sure, man. For sure. You have too much, so like we're gonna get you on another show, right?
Thanks for coming on, Dhruv. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
All right, stick around after I end this broadcast. All right, guys, take it easy. We'll see you on Rakin's channel next week and the week after that. I'll be on some vacation stuff, but I'll still try to tune in if I can. Till then, till the next Green Room Hangout on Rakin's channel. See you later. Bye-bye.